everyone. I am so excited for this show. So if you are a person or in a relationship that is suffering from no sex because of sexual dysfunction or because you're terrified of sex or whatever your issue is, if you are ready to sexercise your bedroom again, you need to stay on the show because today's guest is going to show us and tell us all about those issues. We are going to get down to the root of the problems. We're going to ask all those questions that you're scared to ask anybody, and we're going to find out the answers for you. So I am Midori Verity, and welcome to the Ultimate Relationship Show. And I am a marriage and lifestyle coach, and I bring you the most informative and interesting and exciting guests to help you create a more thriving life and, of course, a more thriving relationship. So please join me in welcoming Jacqui Olliver to our show. Hi, Jacqui.
Hi, how are you today?
Fabulous. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Jacqui. She is known as a technique modifier at endtheproblem.com, and she is considered by many to be a global expert in solving anxiety and sexual dysfunctions. In her breakthrough sex mastery programs and personalized one-on-one coaching for males and females, she provides relevant sex education to answer and solve those problems and issues that happen in the bedroom. All right, let's get started right away. Okay, so Jacqui, tell us what are some of the biggest issues you see for couples when it comes to, you call it sexual dysfunction. First of all, explain to us what sexual dysfunction is.
Well, I kind of have a different terminology for it. I call it sexual malfunction.
Okay.
It's not a dysfunction as in something not firing correctly. It's more of a malfunction. It's caused by, actually I'll tell more about how it's caused by later on. These problems are very, very common. Statistically, so this is according to the statistics that are recorded, and as we know, not many people talk about these things. Mm-hmm. Statistically, 30% of all men suffer from premature ejaculation. So that means that they ejaculate before their partner wants them to. And sometimes that even happens during foreplay. 40% of all men over 40, and many, I mean many, under the age of 40, suffer from erectile dysfunction, which means that they can't get hard, or they can't stay hard, or they can't ejaculate at all.
Okay.
80%, that's 80% of women find it difficult to achieve orgasm during intercourse. And 20% of that 80% can't orgasm at all. Oh. And these are huge amounts of people having all of these problems, and they occur because we're never given a sex education that's relevant to being in a fully functioning sexual relationship with a partner as an adult.
Got it. So, wow, those were some huge numbers. And are you going to tell us some of the ways that we can overcome those issues?
Yes, I am.
Without medication or surgery?
Drugs aren't required.
Oh, right? Gotta love that. Gotta love. That's why you're here today. I'm so excited to delve into this. Okay, so I also saw on something, I don't know if it was your website or somewhere, but where you talked about sex is like driving a car. What does that mean?
It means you need to know how to move through the gears in the right order with the right timing, and how to account for unexpected distractions so you don't crash or stall.
Okay. So I think that's a good launch pad right there. So let's go a little bit deeper on that. So you talked about kind of a procedure for people to follow. Are you saying there's a procedure that couples can follow so that they can eliminate some of the problems that they may have had sexually?
That's right. You see, our brain runs on procedures. We have a procedure for everything. We learn how to drive a car, for instance. We learn how to apply just the right amount of acceleration so we get the car moving, but not fast enough to crash. We learn how to apply just the right amount of brake so that our vehicle slows down, but we don't stall. And this is the same as what happens in our brain. So as far as a sex education, for example, we're given the equivalent of a car, a key, and a fuel voucher. There you go, people. Right? So we have no idea how to drive our vehicle. And the thing is that you don't need drugs, because you can, for example, a man can take Viagra in the hope of overcoming a weak erection problem, and he can take that drug and worry about it and worry about whether or not it's going to work, and it won't, because his brain is overriding his thoughts. His lack of sexual focus are overriding that drug, because our brain has dominance over everything that we take, right?
Yes.
And so if, for instance, he is focusing too much on his partner during foreplay, he can lose his erection. And it's not because he doesn't love her. It's not because he doesn't think she's totally sexy. It's because he's putting too much of his attention on her, and his brain isn't receiving enough arousing signals. So while you can't change the way your brain responds to the messages that you're giving to it, the signals that you're triggering, you can change the signals, the messages that you are giving to your brain. And that's what I do in my sex mastery programs and my one-on-one personalized coaching. I teach my clients the step-by-step process that their brain requires to trigger the muscle programs in the right order. If he puts too much focus on his woman, he's going to ejaculate early. Right? So just like driving the car, there's that balance of acceleration and braking and just knowing what to do and in what order. So if he starts losing his erection, he needs more of this. If he starts feeling like, oh, it's a bit unsafe here, he needs to do this. And once he has that understanding, then he can be in complete control of the sexual act. And it's the same for women. There's just a male version and a female version.
Okay, so we gotta dive deeper into this, because all my clients know I'm always talking about the brain science and the power that we have to change the way that our life is going, the way that we approach life. But now you're saying we can totally use it to change these problems, these sexual problems that we thought maybe were unsolvable. Okay, so I want you to walk us through, as though we are, I know you can't go too deep because there's so much to teach, but let's just kind of talk about some techniques that people can use to help them with that mindset, so they can learn that balance and learn how to start getting more control over whatever the issue is in their sexuality.
All right. So the first step is to neutralize the anxiety. To first understand that the anxiety is being triggered because you don't know what you're doing, because you've never been taught. And it's not your fault, it's the fault in the system that parents tend to avoid these conversations, and they also avoid them because they don't know, because no one's taught them. Mm-hmm. Right? So anxiety around sexual dysfunction problems is very common. Now, to solve the sexual problem, you need to solve the anxiety problem, because if you're feeling anxious and you try not to feel anxious, you know how it is when you're feeling anxious, your heart's pounding, heart's racing, there's blood pounding through your veins, it's like, oh, and your brain turns to custard. It's like you can't think clearly.
Right. And I'm sure a lot of people do that with the anticipation of knowing that they've had that problem and thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to get into a sexual relationship, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
That's right. And they keep having the problem mostly because they don't know what they're doing and they need the procedure for sex, but also because of the anxiety. So the anxiety is like dialing in between two radio stations and only receiving the static. That's the kind of state you're in within that anxiety. But anxiety, again, it's just another program in your brain. It's part of the emotional response program. Physically, it feels intense and uncomfortable, but that's all it is. Then we label it as anxiety, and then we start thinking about why we think we're feeling that way, and then we start analyzing the sexual problem that we have and that we might have tonight, and then we're just constantly on this anxiety treadmill.
Yeah.
Now, once you recognize that anxiety is just a moment in time that will pass if you let it, and the way that you do that is by switching your attention to the physical sensations of that emotional response. So your conscious mind can't focus on two tasks at a time. So either you're analyzing the problem and why you have it and what you think you should be doing, and your mind's total custard and you can't think clearly, or you switch your attention to the physical sensations of the emotional response. And that's in your subconscious. All of your programs are in your subconscious. So as you switch to this program, the programs which regulate your breathing, your heart rate, your blood pressure, relax your muscles and make you feel calm and connected all come into play. And you do that simply by switching your attention to the physical sensations of that emotional response.
Okay, so define emotional response for us.
So we tend to think of an emotional response, we'll label it, we'll call it anxiety, we'll call it anger, we'll call it frustration, we'll call it fear. But to your brain, it's just an emotional response. It's intense and it's uncomfortable, like a sneeze is intense and uncomfortable. What do we do when we're feeling a sneeze coming on? Those of us who are older and who have learnt how dangerous it is to try and hold on to something when you sneeze, we know to put it down and we brace ourselves and we just let that sneeze pass. Within seconds, it's gone. Now, the emotional response program works the same way when we switch our attention to the physical sensations, those intense, uncomfortable physical sensations. Those can be summarized as increased heart rate, muscle tension. Yeah? Yep. As soon as you switch your attention to it, the program completes within seconds. And that's why I call this technique with the ease of a sneeze.
Got it.
Right? It will also bring you out of analysis paralysis, and it will also bring you out of procrastination. I don't need to solve this problem. Well, you do. If you want to save your relationship, yes, you do. Because a man without sex is like a fish without water, and a woman without an emotional connection, she just becomes as dry as the desert sands.
Right.
A woman needs emotional connection, a man needs sex. And that doesn't stop regardless of a person's age.
Okay, so for the emotional connection, just like what you said, for women, so far it feels like a lot of what we've talked about is for men, although of course it can apply to women too, but for the emotional connection for women, is that kind of a different process? Because I would imagine it's going to require more from the partner. Am I wrong?
It's kind of a catch-22. If a man's got a sexual malfunction problem, he's going to be so distracted with that, he's not paying his woman any attention during sex. He's just trying not to think about his problem so that he can fulfill her, and he's not realizing that the very fact of having that problem is preventing him from fulfilling her emotionally. So she's feeling emotionally disconnected from him, which makes her lose interest in sex. The most common cause of the low libido is due to either partner having sexual dysfunction problems. When a woman can't orgasm, it's no fun. It's just no fun.
Yeah. And so you feel like that for a woman to orgasm, it's not a physical thing necessarily, it's more mental?
It's a mental thing. How can you orgasm when you're contemplating shopping or the next meal or what you have to do the next day? How is that related to sex? How is your brain supposed to know you want an orgasm? Right?
Right.
So there are so many distractions that are constantly going on in our busy lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
She's not feeling an emotional connection. She's not going to be as involved in the sexual act with her partner because there is the distraction that he's not emotionally available. But if she's also distracted with everything else going on in her life, then she won't be able to orgasm because her brain's still like, what exactly does she want here? I'm not really getting any clear signals. It's like, and so she starts getting turned on, and she's getting turned on, and then, oh, this might be an orgasm. Is it? Now, how does your brain interpret, is it? Do you want the orgasm? I'm not getting any clear signals here. Okay, we'll cancel it out. And then she's like, really? But I was so close. And then the mind becomes distracted and she's all over the place, and her partner may be worrying about a problem that he has. And so sex becomes mutually unfulfilling. It becomes more like a nightmare. And that's why so many older couples start losing interest in sex. It's not that they're losing their desire for intimacy. They want it. They want nothing more than that. But they don't quite know how to resolve these issues which cause problems. I took a 76-year-old woman who had never orgasmed in her life. Her husband sent her to me after I solved his ED problem. And when I asked him, is your lady able to achieve orgasm? And he says, I think so. Okay. And when I asked her, it's like, well, she says, well, I love the intimacy with my husband. I love being close to him. But I just figured I'd never be able to achieve orgasm. Right? 6 weeks later, he emails me and says, I just had to tell you that Gina and I were discussing you at great length yesterday, and we've decided what a wonderful service it is that you're providing for society. Jean now hits gold nearly every time we have intercourse. And he was just pleased as punch.
It is never too late. I love that story. Did everyone hear that? 76 years old. And finally they had that, both of them were having issues, and they finally came together and their relationship blossomed, it sounded like, in the sexual sense. So it's never too late.
That's right. And they already had an amazing relationship, right?
Yeah.
So they already had a beautiful relationship, and then finally being able to round it off with amazing sex was just mind-blowing for both of them.
Right. And to know that that they were doing something, I think the way that when you've been in a relationship for a while, that you're bringing that out for each other is amazing. It's amazing that you made that connection and you're helping one another and you're seeing each other get to kind of a new level. I love that. So a lot of this, it is about brain science, but also I think a huge amount of it is about communication for the couple. Wouldn't you say? Do you have any suggestions for couples on ways to make it more comfortable or things that they can say to each other so that they get their needs met?
All right. So let's starting off with that ease of a sneeze technique. Whenever you're going to have a conversation about sex, it's going to make your heart pound and feel nervous about it just because we don't talk about sex, right? It's important to explain to your partner what you like and what you don't like. Another common cause of a lack of libido in women is they don't like their partner's technique. Remember that we rely on porn and romance novels to teach us about sex because there is no valid sex education. And so a male will learn that a woman likes hard and fast. A woman likes to change position all of the time. No, that will switch her out of her orgasm program unless you ask for hard and fast. unless she initiates a change of position, she doesn't want it, right? So if you're starting off hard and fast, or if you're changing position, she's going to be like, oh, she's just getting into the zone. And then it's like, oh, really? Okay, dear. Change the position. She gets into it, just starts getting into the zone, and it's like, oh, you're kidding me, right? She's not so enthusiastic about this change of position. And so it goes on. So it's understanding that your partner may have different wants and needs. Does she like how you kiss her? Again, we see on TV these passionate kisses where what I call hit and miss. They're all over the face, barely engaging with the mouth. Now, if a person likes it, that's fine, but not so many people do. And so you need to determine what she likes, and don't assume that because someone else has liked something that your partner will like it. We're all different. The same with sexual fantasy. Some people need, for instance, dirty talk to feel fulfilled as a human being. But if your partner doesn't like dirty talk, she's not going to want to have sex with you because it's just irritating for her. See, dirty talk, for instance, if you're one who likes that, you can imagine a dirty talk scenario. You can imagine yourself saying that and firing yourself up with that. But again, it's like, it's understanding what your partner wants and needs of you, and understanding what you want and need, and then coming to an agreement within that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys did not catch that, do not use pornos for your sexual education. It doesn't work as well. But what I'm hearing you say, Jacqui, is that you have to talk about it. You have to be open to letting your partner know what you like. Do you like the dirty talk, or is it a big fat turn off for you? You got to be open about it and start that conversation. And I promise it gets easier. It gets easier, and you'll start to see your relationship blossom in a different way. And it's a lot more fun, right?
I would agree with that. I would suggest that it's also important to deal with those sexual malfunctions first.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just adding to the pressure. If you need to understand how to be able to perform that sexual act for mutual fulfillment of both partners, and then you've gotten rid of that distraction. Then all of those other conversations build on your new foundation. That's when you can explain it. It's like a lot of my clients have tried using toys to get their woman to orgasm. It's like, but it's got nothing to do with the toy. It's got nothing to do with your sexual position. It's got nothing to do with her sexual position. It's how she's positioning her mind and applying relevant thoughts and relevant actions to enhance those thoughts. Yeah. Then you can bring in toys if you want to, but you'll probably find you don't need to because you're having just as much fun, even more fun, without them, just using your bodies dynamically.
Got it. This has been fascinating. This has been such a good education, and the fact that you let us know how important it is for us to get into that mind and use it to help alleviate so much of that anxiety, because that's probably what's causing so much of the issue. Now, when do you know it is not a mental issue and that you do need to see a doctor? There's something else going on.
All right. So for a male, if he isn't having any nocturnal erections or any random erections at all ever, that may indicate that there is a blood flow problem, right? But it can also indicate that there is just a structural support muscles problem, right? So again, it's important to eat healthy. If you're going to eat shit food, then you're going to have you're going to have repercussions from that somewhere, either within your health or your sex life. And if it doesn't directly affect your sex life, if it's affecting your health, it's going to indirectly affect your sex life.
So true.
I recommend staying away from wheat, sugar, preservatives, corn syrup. Yeah.
Okay.
They're generally the high inflammation causing foods, and foods that cause inflammation block your arteries. And then, of course, your brain pumps out cholesterol. Cholesterol is like the fire truck. If you didn't have an inflammation problem, you wouldn't have a cholesterol problem. So stop eating the foods that are causing the inflammation.
Such a good point. Okay, so not only are you eating healthier so you can be healthier, but also so you can have better sex. That's another incentive.
That's usually motivation for a male.
Right? That's awesome. Okay, Jacqui, so I understand you have a gift for our listeners.
I do. I have the 5 crucial rules of sex. And these 5 crucial rules, there's a male version and there's a female version. And they help you to understand what causes these problems and the distractions that add to these problems and what specifically you can do about them. And so you can access the 5 crucial rules at endtheproblem.com/programs.
Okay.
So
and that'll
programs,
also be on our website. So if you didn't have a chance to write that down, if you forgot, it will be on our website where you can easily just click on it and it's right there for you.
yes.
Great. And then is there anywhere else that we can find information about you and follow you, Jacqui? What about like Facebook?
Facebook is End the Problem.
Okay. All right.
Twitter is End the Problem.
I like how you make it so easy for us.
If you think of End the Problem and put my name in the search bar, you'll find me.
Okay, perfect. Well, Jacqui, thank you so much for being here and being so honest about these issues that plague couples and cause us so much anxiety and stress, and helping us understand what's going on there. So thank you so much for being with us. And we may have you come back for a follow-up to this. We'll see what happens there.